Here we go. Welcome back, one and all, to another episode of the Two Tongues Podcast. Podcast where Kyle is very sleepy.
I am very sleepy.
What's up, man?
Not much. Just feeling stuffed, engorged. I just ate a bunch of food before we did this. I don't think I've eaten that closely to doing the podcast. This is the most recent that I've had a large meal and then come down to record.
Yep, I didn't give you much time to digest.
That's all right.
We just basically came right down the steps.
Yeah.
I'm hearing a little buzzing in the mic. It's pissing me off. Hold on. I'm turn this down.
I don't hear shit.
Okay, perfect. All right, so check this out. I do a podcast with my girls sometimes, my kids. They know that I do it, and they think it's fascinating, and they like to hear their voice in the headphones. So sometimes they'll come down here and they'll ask me if I'll do a podcast with them.
Yep.
So I never publish anything, but we have a podcast called the Three Neck Lizard Podcast. Also the Karate Podcast. Here, let me show you. We have podcast under Freya. Let's see, we have Punk Rock Disney, Three Neck Lizard, the Three Unicorns Podcast, Two Unicorn Poop, something or other. So anyway, we just have some podcasts that we do.
Nice.
And while I was doing this with her, I realized that I have some pre-saved. Where is it? Some pre-saved. Oh, here we are. Soundtracks on here.
Okay.
So we have our intro and our outro that we play on here, but I also figured out I got some cool ones, man. I've got this one. So we can tell jokes now.
Now we can tell
We
jokes.
can tell jokes. I could be like, hey, how many people does it take to... Yes.
That was a good one, dude.
We also, if nobody laughs at the joke, then we can just say like...
It's very useful. It's going to be like an episode of Seinfeld.
Exactly. There's also one called Scary. You want to hear it?
Let's hear it.
All right, it goes like this.
That's pretty good.
I feel like that's going to come in handy.
For sure.
A little bit less certain about this one.
I think that one's going to come in handy too.
Anyway, we got some things on here.
We got some stuff.
There's also this one called Bumper, which is one that we paid for when we had the intro and outro done, but I completely forgot about it.
Yeah.
And it goes
Is
like
that
this.
The short one?
Yeah, it's like if we were going to like have a commercial break, we'd be like...
You're listening to the Two Tongues Podcast. And now your hosts, Kyle and Chris.
Boom.
Yeah, you forgot about that one. I've never forgot about that one. I like that one.
Oh, you do like that one. Shit,
Yeah.
We should just open with that one.
It's nice, like short and right to the
It is,
point.
because, even like this time when we hit the intro, I'm just like, come on. As
Yeah.
I've heard it a bazillion times,
Yeah. And all the questions, like, I feel like we've got the answers to those questions. We moved on to different questions.
Yeah, we moved on to different questions.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, maybe related questions, but different questions.
Yeah, the secrets of the universe are no longer secrets to
We've discovered
Kyle and Chris.
We've through this podcast.
Through
We
this.
just ran those motherfuckers down.
Correct.
Yeah, dude.
What's up, man? What's on your mind? What do you want to talk about?
I want to talk about that risotto that we just ate. It's fucking
Fuck.
good, man.
So when I first met my wife, back when she was trying to impress me, she made seafood risotto one night, and I'm like 25 years old. I don't know what the fuck risotto is.
I never had a risotto.
I've never had one risotto. And also, like, she didn't need to impress me because she's smoking hot, and I was 25.
Yeah.
So the food was the last thing.
What else was she doing to impress you?
Talk about it, but it's inappropriate.
Yeah.
But it was awesome. And so she made the risotto, and like I was like, didn't want to like be a pig, so like barely ate it,
Yeah.
And then she was all pissed. She spent a bunch of time making this risotto.
You didn't finish it.
No, I didn't finish it.
You son of a bitch.
But I finished quickly in other ways, so I made up for it.
Yep.
Oh shit, where's the little... Oh damn, I should have hit the laugh track button here. Here we go. Guys, wait for it. All right, there he is.
A delayed reaction.
There it
That's
is.
Okay.
Yeah, well, there it is. And I'm not even sure whether the sound effects
Is gonna go
is
on
gonna
the recording.
go on the YouTube recording. So
Yeah, probably
you
not.
guys are probably just out of
Just imagine.
just imagine it.
Yeah.
All right. So anyway, risotto. Yes. So she's gotten really good at that.
Risotto. Sorry, go ahead.
She's gotten really good at that. She makes it regularly now. She gets these amazing mushrooms from Costco. They're amazing. Yeah. She throws them in there. We didn't have them in there today. She had different mushrooms, but you should come over one of the days she puts the dope mushrooms in the risotto.
Dope mushrooms?
The dope mushrooms.
Oh yeah, dude.
They're really good, man.
They like magic mushrooms. Is that why they're dope?
That would be awesome. It's like a blend. It's like a whole. Ooh,
you're like
you got
psychedelic anything. I'm
psychedelic risotto. Yes. What else? You got anything top of mind?
Top of my mind.
I feel like I dominate the talking points too much, so I want to like try to be more patient.
I mean, I don't have like a ton of like pre-prepared material. Have you been paying attention at all to the Steven Crowder thing that's going on?
No. Tell me all about it.
He's getting a divorce, so that's it's pretty sad. You know?
It's not good.
You don't want people to get divorced.
Is there like a hubbub about it, or just that he's getting a divorce?
So his wife released footage from like one of their Ring, security cameras, which is just like, don't put those things in your house, It's fucking so stupid.
Yeah.
But anyway, she released some footage of them having an argument, and a lot of people are, I mean, I'm on the record on this podcast. I don't really like Steven Crowder.
You've said it.
But I do think that a lot of people who I like, well, not a lot of people that I like, but maybe a couple people that I like have given their opinions on this. And I just feel like they are just like, mind your own business. Like, this is not, I don't know. It just seems like, why are you getting involved in this guy getting a divorce? Like,
I'm guessing she wouldn't have released the video unless it put him in a bad light.
Yeah. But I do think, so I'll say this, I can't imagine the circumstances in which I would talk to my 8-month pregnant with twins wife that way. But that being said, I'm also not in the fight, and I don't think that anything that he said was like, I mean, like I said, I don't think I would talk to my 8-month pregnant wife that way, but still, even though I don't think that anything he said was like he should be put in fucking prison or anything like that. And a lot of people, like I said, some people that I like are just giving their opinions on it. And I just feel like you don't have enough information to give some kind of informed opinion on another man's marriage.
Right. I'd like to be able to jump in on this, but I didn't hear it. So I don't know.
Yeah. It's hard to.
He is kind of juiced up, by the way. He's a
big dude.
He's pretty ripped.
Yeah.
So if he's like being aggressive or
gay
whatever,
dudes are really into fitness.
They are into fitness. Correct.
So that makes sense that Steven Crowder is kind of jacked. But I don't like Steven Crowder, and I do think that there's a lot of people are saying that they think that this is evidence that Steven Crowder is abusive. And I don't have a hard time believing that Steven Crowder is, but I don't think that video is sufficient evidence.
So you got a bunch of people trying to make something out of.
Yeah.
Maybe not nothing, but.
Now, I do think that there's like, maybe you start to get a bunch of stories about Crowder, and it's like, okay, maybe this guy is an asshole.
Yeah.
And I do think he's an asshole, but I just don't, like I said, I just don't think it's right to weigh in on.
When we talked about this before, one of the things we said was that my only exposure to Steven Crowder has been Change My Mind. And to be fair, he has a lot of confrontational conversations, and he's very, very seldomly aggressive or a dick in those conversations. I mean, he's on camera, but usually carries himself pretty well, even when he's.
Oh, and you're saying that you're like offering that as evidence that he's not a dick?
Yeah.
Got it.
But that's my limited exposure to him. So yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. That's not very good evidence, Like you hear lots of stories of people who like Ellen, if you watch the Ellen show, Ellen seems like the nicest lesbo in the world.
She does seem pretty
She's
nice.
Like a very friendly, outgoing, loves to dance, loves to scare people and prank people.
Yeah.
But apparently she was like, Idi Amin on the set. It's not a very nice lady.
Yeah, that's interesting. It makes you wonder if she was always that way or if she became that way.
Which is funny because Ellen's gay. I think Crowder's gay. I'm pretty sure that dude's gay.
I think the gays are just angry and aggressive.
Yeah, when they become the leaders of talk shows, yes. You can't become the gay leader of a talk show without being a tyrant.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
The more you know.
The more you know.
Well, I might have a few things. on the list today.
What one of those things happened to be what's going on with Tucker?
No, about that. Cool. Recently, and I didn't read it. I wanted to. It said something about Tucker and Elon Musk talking about going into business together. I don't know what that means, but that's kind of interesting.
Wonder what that kind of a business that would be.
I don't know. Does that mean that Elon's gonna like bankroll
Some kind of a news media business?
Does Tucker need to be bankrolled? He's got plenty of money, I think.
I think it depends on what he wants to do. You know,
That's true.
if he wants to like have a podcast and be like, you know, as big as Joe Rogan, I think he could do that. And I don't think he needs to be bankrolled.
Yeah. But if he wants to run for public office, then maybe he needs to be bankrolled. Yeah. Or maybe not.
I don't. That's a good question. How much money has Tucker got?
Good question.
I'm sure it's a lot of money.
Jamie, how much money does Tucker have?
I just heard someone saying the other day that he's making something like $1.2 million a month.
Oh, Jesus.
And he is not working. You know, like Fox is paying him to not work right now.
Oh, even better.
Yeah.
That's weird, though.
$1.2 million a month.
That's weird.
That's how much they're worried about the stuff that he's saying, you know? It's like, well, we'll just shell out all this dough to keep you quiet and not let you on, you know?
Yep. I did see a clip of Tucker.
This is I don't know what clip you're talking about, but this is kind of what I wanted to talk about.
Go ahead.
No, go. You go.
Well, I'm trying to remember the specifics, but it was a clip of him when he wasn't on the air, but he was being recorded.
Yeah.
And
a few of those have come out.
And he cracked me up. I don't know what he was saying.
It's so funny. They're releasing them. This is exactly what I wanted to talk about.
All right.
They're releasing these clips. It has to be Fox releasing these. Where the fuck else would they be coming from?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
And they're releasing them like it's gonna make Tucker look bad or something. You know, like he's gonna come out of it looking like a dick. But every single one of them made me like Tucker more.
Yeah.
You know.
Remind me what he said. I know he was like cursing and.
Yeah, one of them he just said he remember when we had Kevin on.
Yeah.
And we called it "We'll Do It Live."
Yeah,
One of them, he like made reference to that.
Did he?
I don't understand why that's a problem at all. It's a funny joke.
Yep.
The other one, he was just like joking around with the people on set, and he like said "fuck." You know, it's like is nothing bad at all. It's just like it made me it. You know, Tucker has a style when he's on TV. And it showed like a different side of him, a side where he's just kind of being a normal person with his coworkers, you know?
Yeah.
So it made me like him more.
See, that's how I felt.
Yeah. And another one was a text message that came out.
Oh, I didn't see that.
And it was something he had watched some video of. I guess it was like a lefty person at a protest getting jumped by some like right-wing people.
Okay.
And he said something about that his like initial reaction was like, that's not good. That's not how white men fight.
I did see that. Yeah.
Which I think is pretty funny. And then he went on to say that he found after he like watched it for a minute, he found himself like wanting the people to hurt the left-wing person. And then he like, you know, did this like really awesome thing where he's like, no, that makes me no better than them, you know?
Yep.
But just that line, that's not how white men fight. I like that.
Well, just to put it out there, in our lifetimes, like, listen, I'm not suggesting that like this wasn't true. Like, Black people didn't get lynched by white people, you know, in you know, our recent history. But in our lifetimes, in our probably all, if not most of our parents' lifetimes, if somebody got jumped, it was by Black dudes.
Yeah.
You know, all of the stories that I can tell you that are as close to me as I can remember, like when we were kids, my brother, he's older than us, obviously, and he went to a different school. He was going to middle school, and we were in elementary school, and he would get off the bus at a different stop. It was in front of the elementary school, and he would walk me and my sister home when we were like in the first grade or something. Mm-hmm. And he got jumped, and he had his starter jacket stolen from him. And I remember coming up to the corner, and he's like, you know, I don't remember the details. I think he was crying, but it's winter, and he's got no coat on. He got jumped by a bunch of Black dudes and had his coat taken. Happened to me when I was in elementary school. At that same elementary school, I was walking on the playground, minding my business, and somebody jumped on me from behind, slammed me down to the ground. And when I got up, I was attacked by two black kids. So those examples that are as close to home as possible in every instance was black dudes. It was not never white dudes.
It's not how white men fight.
So that statement rings true to me.
Yeah.
And that in no way is that racist. That's experiential.
Well, your experience is racist, dude.
Apparently so.
Yeah.
But that's what they're going to say about Tucker for saying that.
Yeah.
And all I'm saying is, one man's life experience reflects that being a true statement.
Yep.
I've never seen white dudes jump somebody. Never.
Yeah, I mean, I know it's happened. And maybe I even have seen it online, but a lot more frequently, it's not white people doing that,
Yeah.
It's,
well, you remember I was telling you about that lady, Heather, what was her name? Heather, she's an author. She was on Gad Sad's podcast, Heather McDonald. She wrote a book called When Race Trumps Merit. She was on Gad Sad's podcast, Jordan Peterson's podcast. She was making her rounds. And she said, and I'm going to butcher this, and I'm sorry, but she said something like that the narrative is that white people, whiteness, whatever that means, and the systemic racism, all surrounding whiteness and white people, which is a crazy oversimplification and a ridiculous thing to say, but everyone says it now and it's perfectly fine. That's seen as something that is that injures black people. That whiteness and white people are injuring black people. We're holding them down. We're keeping them down.
What's the solution to that?
What the point that she made was that is the most ridiculous thing. When you look at the statistics, you see it's not white people that hurt black people. 90-something% of violent crime against black people is done by black people. If you're going to point the finger.
Yeah, but white people are the reason that the black people do that crime.
Of course.
Come on. What are you trying to be racist on the podcast right now, dude?
I want to talk about race on the podcast.
Yeah,
I don't want to talk about race. I want to talk about racism.
They do the crime because we're racist, Like they have to commit crime. They have to, Chris.
In order to prove that white people are racist?
Yeah. Just gotta, I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't understand the logic, but that's like the kind of thing that they would say. Like they're doing these crimes because they're, not socioeconomically, they don't have equity,
Yep. And that's white people's fault.
Yeah. Did you hear California?
That's on the list.
That's their reparations payment.
That's on the list.
All right. Well, we'll get there then.
Well, let's talk about it, man. I saw it. It was, I don't know the details, but I heard that a committee on reparations. I don't know how like legit that is, what part of the government that is. I don't know what that means, but a committee about reparations in the state of California has voted unanimously to approve somewhere in the range of $360,000 to $1.2 million of reparations of taxpayer money to be given to qualifying black people in the state. Anybody who can prove that they were descended from a slave or were freed before 1900.
California never had slavery. California wasn't a part of the Union before that. I don't understand it at all, man.
And they think that's going to cost the state of California $800 billion.
I heard it was up in the trillions.
It might, maybe if they're giving them 1.2, maybe it is.
Yeah.
And I actually tweeted about this because I saw a picture of two of the board members, the whatever that were voting, committee members that were voting on this. One of them was wearing a what do they call those African garb? Dashiki. One of them was wearing that. Both of them were black. One was a man, one was a woman. And I thought to myself, look, I don't know how many people are on this committee, but the ones that are pictured here probably qualify.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself, is there a conflict of interest here when the committee that's voting to give everyone $1 million is all going to get $1 million? I was like, isn't that kind of like when Congress votes to give themselves a raise? Yeah. It's bullshit. It's absolute and utter bullshit.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to work out that well. I don't see how that's going to happen, I
think Gavin Newsom would let it happen if I don't think he's going to have any objections to that. He's going to empty the coffers.
Yeah. I just don't think it's going to go over that well. I don't think it's going to be as much of a help as people think it's going to be.
No, it'd be like, it's like every story. Well, not every story, but the ones you hear about when people win the lottery and their lives are destroyed. They win the lottery and they're dead like a couple years later, or they're broke a couple years later.
Maybe that's the plan. Maybe they're like trying to get rid of these people.
Unbelievable, man.
Dude, there's the left is the real racist. Maybe that's what this is. Maybe they're hatching this lottery disaster plan. And they're just gonna, I don't know.
There's no doubt in my mind that the left is the real racist.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's always been that way, but it is that way now. And there is absolutely no question about it. The anti-white rhetoric that we're hearing, and we're hearing it from academia, but the media and the government are applauding it and writing it in law. They're trying to codify it. It's absolutely racism. And I don't know what to say about that. It's complete and utter insanity. For a political position that's always railed against racism and for equality, to now be the racists themselves, I don't even know what to think about it.
Yeah. Yeah, they're racist against white people. They're also racist against black people. It's like you see, I'm sure you've seen the stuff that happened on the train. The new what's his name? George Floyd, the new George Floyd situation.
Yeah, that's on here too. Jordan Neely.
Yeah. Neely. Because what's his name? Derek Chauvin. It was kneeling.
Yeah,
on
he
George
sure was.
Floyd. It's just like they all link up somehow.
Yeah.
There's like this thread that goes through all of it. But yeah, it's like that. If that was a white guy who was dancing like Michael Jackson and being an insane person on the train, and somebody, what's the word I'm looking for? Like detained or, incapacitated that person, it would be fine. It wouldn't be a story, you know?
Well, what if he died? Maybe, but
if it was a white person, it would not be a story.
It wouldn't be this level of story.
It wouldn't be a story.
For sure.
If it was a white guy that got killed, nobody would talk about it at all.
The thing is, man, it's worse than that. It's worse than he's like acting a fool and dancing like Michael Jackson. He assaulted many people. And I saw videos. I saw videos of that. Not only did I see a video of a guy walking by him on the street while he was dancing like Michael Jackson, and he's called him Michael, and the guy, circled around him and punched him multiple times, and the guy just walked away. But if he's doing that to some random guy on the street, then you hear the one of the people that was on the bus that saw it said that the guy who restrained him and ultimately killed him shouldn't be punished for it, and explained in that interview that he's had many encounters with that guy, and he's always being violent with people. He acts like there are no consequences. I don't wish him dead, but there are fucking consequences. You can't do anything you want to do.
I don't wish him dead. I don't wish death on anyone, but I will say this: I don't feel bad for that guy. I don't care about what happened at all. To be perfectly frank with you, I don't fucking care that some crazy person got what was coming to him. And I feel that is, I'm not going to say that he deserved to die, but you get what's coming to you. You keep doing shit like that, eventually something's going to go wrong.
Right. So the only thing keeping me from agreeing with you is the fact that he died. If he had his ass handed to him, if he got choked unconscious and was left there like an idiot, I would be right with you saying loudly that he got what's coming to him. The fact that he died makes me leery about saying that. But yes,
I'm still 100% on board. He got what was coming to him. You can't go around behaving like that guy who was a Marine didn't try to kill him. It just happened, and it happened because of his behavior. It's not because of the Marine.
That's right. Yeah.
It happened because of that guy.
Yep.
So yeah, I don't feel bad at all. I don't not only do I not feel bad, like I said, I don't care. I don't want to expend mental energy thinking about some fucking criminal who got killed. I don't care.
Yep.
And
then you've got people and I'm willing to guess for ideological reasons, most people on the left that want to see that dude hung, they want to see that dude die. They want to see him pay in a serious and public way for it.
Yeah, he's already guilty. I mean, in the news and everything, he's already guilty.
Yep. And his name's out there. Right. Yep.
It's fucked. I guess the governor of New York basically basically said that he's guilty. I mean, it's a fucked up situation for that guy,
Yep.
Like in the moment, him doing what he thinks is the right thing to do, and now he's like potentially going to prison for it,
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is, if Jordan Neely were a white dude, I would feel exactly the same way.
Yeah.
That dude is assaulting people. He's crazy. Nobody's dealing with it. The authorities aren't dealing with it. He's being allowed to fuck with other people's lives.
Yeah.
Without regard, he has no consequences, and somebody finally gives him his comeuppance. Like that's what the fucking police should have been doing all along. That's what the mental health system should have been doing all along. Instead, he's just allowed to do whatever the fuck he wants. There's no rule of law there.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of funding to keep these mentally ill people off the streets, they're going to give $1.2 million to every black citizen in the state of California. What in the fuck? Priorities, guys. Priorities.
We have none.
No.
Well, we have them. They're just wrong, I guess.
I've been thinking about this. I don't exactly know how to get into this topic, but I've been thinking about all this racism, and we've been seeing a lot of anti-white racism that's getting violent, and it seems like it's encouraged. Mm-hmm. It's encouraged everywhere you look.
Definitely not discouraged.
It's definitely not discouraged. It's encouraged by liberals, white and black alike. It's encouraged by governments. It's encouraged by the media. It's applauded. And like I wrote down some examples. We talked about some things recently that we've seen in terms of like cell phone videos of white kids, that white kid that got knocked out in the garage by those black kids, and, things that happened on the school bus. I saw another one. Fat little white kid on the school bus. It looked like he was about 11, 12 years old.
Getting the shit kicked out of him by some black girl.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So that one. And then there was a story about a guy named Carlton Glifford in Oklahoma.
Carlton Glifford. He's a homeless man, black dude. He shot and killed 2 white people on the street. Just shot and killed them. And when he was asked why he did it, he said, because they're white. He killed them because they're white, right? Now, the people that justify that as okay are the people that think about things that happened, in the Jim Crow era or earlier, when white people were doing terrible things to black people in the name of whatever, slavery and whatever. I don't even know. I'm not going to defend it. They're doing the exact same things that allows them to justify what they're doing, and they're doing the exact same things. And then the Jordan Neely one was on that list. Here's another one. I've been listening to a lot of Gad Saad recently. I never do, and I don't know why. I love that dude. He's fucking hilarious. He was talking about this movement to indigenize mathematics. So, math is what do they call it? Like white supremacy, right? So math and science as disciplines are racist. That's the new thing in academia. And there's this push to indigenize math, which means something like this. There are minority groups, Native American groups, tribal groups in the world that have different ways of counting, different systems of arithmetic. Yeah.
And because we don't learn them and we don't give them any credence, that makes math racist.
Right. We're not counting coconuts.
Because we're not counting coconuts, something like that. And I got to thinking about this. I watched this amazing documentary. I have probably talked about this before, but there was one called The History of Maths, and there was one with this really hot redheaded lady, English lady, a professor whose name I'm going to fail to remember. It was all about infinity and geometry and fractals and all kinds of crazy shit that I just love. I don't understand it, but I love it. And they said a bunch of interesting things, like white people. I don't exactly know how you draw that line, and we can talk about that all day long, but the Greeks, as an example, didn't use 1, 2, 3s. They used Roman numerals. We know that, right? The Greco-Roman numerical system was using Roman numerals, and Roman numerals have some limitations. One of them is that there is no zero, and that makes math very difficult, right? That makes geometry very difficult, and it makes calculations very difficult. So we switched from Roman numerals to Phoenician. Is it Phoenician? I think so, or Arabic numerals, and they are the ones we use today. 1, 2, 3, and then we got zero as a concept from ancient India. So I know this because I watched those documentaries a million times. So they're trying to tell me math is racist, and I know good goddamn well that math is a multicultural, multi-generational system that has evolved with contributions from all kinds of brown people. We couldn't do calculations. We couldn't do binary, digital anything without the zero, right? We got that from India. What color are those people, dude?
Brownish.
People of color.
People of color.
Right?
Yeah.
So how in the fuck is math racist? It's not even white.
Well, Chris, it's racist because white people excel at it compared to the browns and the blacks in the United States.
Huh. I see.
That's why it's racist. Because when you line up the standardized testing scores, the white people are way up here in math and science, and then the blacks and the browns like more down.
What about the Asians though? Because
they're up here.
And the Ashkenazis, they're way up
white.
there, man.
They're white. When we're talking about math and science, Asians are white.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Come on, dude.
Asians
it's
are white.
2023. You should know this. Asians and Indians, they're white when we're talking about math and science. And but when we're talking about like Asian hate crimes like we were like 2 years ago, then they're Asian.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it's
like chameleon type stuff.
Chameleon. Yes, okay. Jesus Christ, dude.
Yeah, it's fucked up.
So this whole ignoring the history of math and it being multicultural, like very clearly, you can't argue with that. A multicultural endeavor. And the idea is we take what's good from different systems and what works, and then we build on that. So what we have now is the best possible form of math that benefits from the evolution and from the idea sex that's been going on for generations. If Native American indigenous forms of arithmetic were superior, we would adopt them. We would take what works best from them and we would adopt them. Nobody would argue, in their right mind would argue, that we should take some step backwards and be able to do less with our calculations in order to accommodate some other form that's not as good. It's like you want to like drive a shittier car. Do you want to go back to 2002 cell phones?
We're all going to be live in grass huts to enforce equity.
Ain't nobody going to live in grass huts.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of want to live in a grass hut, but like, but yeah, no, I get what you mean. It's like, we're going to fucking, instead of building up people to like, I can even hear how they would think that sounds racist. I'm going to say, build the black people and the brown people up to our level. They're going to like, what the fuck does that mean? It means what the fuck I said it means, like, yeah, I don't understand why this mentality is, instead of building them up, we're just going to flatten everything.
Right.
We're going to destroy everything.
Well, to say build them up to our level gives this impression that all of the white people are up here. But the truth is, there's a lot of dumb fucking white people.
White people, yeah, myself included. I am a dumb white person. So, don't think I'm up on some high horse, But yeah.
So this is basically the angle that I was trying to tiptoe towards. And we talked a little bit about like this idea of like closed communities or more like ethnically uniform communities, and what happens when you try to blend different cultures and different languages together, the challenges and the violence and the disagreements and all that stuff. And it's like, it seems like a racist thing because cultures form in homogeneous ways. It's like if you live in a certain part of the world and you develop a certain culture, you're probably going to look like everybody around you, and you're probably going to be making babies with people that look just like you, and
You're
you're
all
going to,
probably going to behave the same way.
right.
Yeah.
Then you're going to look different from other people in the world. And you know what? That's not a bad thing. And yet it's a cultural, the problems between what's the word, multiculturalism, the problems that arise aren't because of the color of your skin. They're because of the culture that you're attached to.
Mm-hmm.
And it just so happens that culture runs along racial lines or genetic lines.
Yep.
That's a coincidence. It's not where the problem comes from.
Yeah, I think that so the idea of America, at least at a certain point, was that you would come here and you would adopt the American culture,
right,
regardless of where you were from. You would adopt the American culture and you would be an American.
Right.
I don't think that immigration really works that way. Maybe for some people it does. And I think that there is a realistic immigration system where we can like weed those people in, I guess, we can accept those people and kick everyone else that, no, you can't fucking come here.
Yeah.
And I think that's what it should be. But yeah, I don't even remember where I was going with that.
I know what you mean. What's the word that they used in the old days? To become Americanized,
naturalized.
No, it's a different word. Basically to adopt an American culture. Like my wife's grandpa wouldn't teach his own children his native language. They didn't learn Swedish or Finnish because he wanted the kids to be American.
Yeah, see, there's definitely a part of that come to America, be, get rid of your old stuff and be American that I like.
Yep.
But there's also part of it that I don't like, because like the idea that he didn't teach his kids Finnish. No, teach your kids Finnish, man. That's who you are at your like core, the deepest historical level, that's who you are.
Sure.
So there's definitely something to that American thing. Like I do think that if I was in charge of things, what I would do is lock down America's borders. No illegal immigration, at least as little as we can possibly, I'm sure bears coming in. Anybody who is already here, who is illegal, I'm not saying we like hunt every committing a crime, you're gone.
Yeah.
And then to get in, I would just have be able to move to Mexico because I don't have anything to offer really. I don't have a degree. I'm learning to weld. Maybe someday I can go there but not, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
If you're not a doctor or an inventor or, something where you have something to offer, no, you're not coming in. You're not going to come here to reap tax benefits,
Sure.
I also think that you shouldn't be able to collect any kind of assistance for like 2 generations, something like that.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of what was on my radar. Is like, if it doesn't seem to me like it would be that difficult, even if we had open borders, which I don't recommend, but even if we had open borders and illegals would come into the country, if they couldn't speak the language and they couldn't get a driver's license and they couldn't get a job, what are they going to do? They're gonna have to go back.
Yep.
Like I don't understand what's so difficult. Like, we clearly made it easier for them to come here and stay here illegally. We bent the rules. We changed the laws. We made it such that they can have some level of citizenship, some level of protection under the law, some level of access to education and healthcare. And they're not a citizen. They don't deserve it.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't belong to them. It's a public service that belongs to the citizens of the country. that's funded by taxpayer dollars. It's
Yeah.
like, it's not for everyone. We made it available for everyone somehow, at least enough to allow for people to come here and stay here, even when they're here legally.
Yep.
I just imagine if we lived in a country that clamped down on all that,
They're not coming.
you would starve to death. You starve to death. You have no place to live, around, eat. You couldn't work. You would not come here.
It would not make sense for you to come here.
It wouldn't make sense. The incentives would not be there.
And that's exactly what I think our policy should be. Yeah, I mean, and then I think when you set up those kind of parameters, the people who want to come are the people who want to adopt the culture. They're not the people who are coming for the handouts and shit.
Right.
They're the people who really want to be there and really want to contribute and be a part of the community.
And be less.
And that's what you want.
Right. And they wouldn't be disruptive, and they wouldn't be tearing things down. Yeah. And they would obey the law, 100%.
Yeah.
100%. Why would you want to have people here that didn't want to obey the law and participate? Why? It doesn't make any sense.
When you're thinking like a rational person, no, it doesn't make any sense.
So I was thinking about this, like we heard a lot about Sharia law back during the second Bush administration. And
I like Sharia law.
and the Sharia courts that they set up in London and all that stuff. And it's like, that's a good example of a cultural difference that is incongruent with American culture.
Yeah. Like I said, I've got a soft spot for Sharia law, but
Well, I don't know anything about Sharia law apart from the fact that
I don't want to live under it, but like I said before, I think the communities should be allowed to dictate their own,
Yes, but like when women have clitorectomies done to them when they're children.
I'm not sure how much a part of Sharia law that is.
Well, again, I don't know either. Maybe it's not, but it occurs.
Yeah. No, that's bad.
In the Islamic culture, in certain parts of the Islamic culture, that's not congruent with American culture.
Yeah.
So if you bring that element into our culture and you think that we're going to be able to reconcile that, like you're setting yourself up for a violent conflict.
Mm-hmm.
People who believe something they believe, they take it to be sacred. It's one of their deepest and most important values, and it's completely contradictory to the American moral system. I mean, what are you doing? And I have got mixed feelings about this, because I know this country's a melting pot and it benefits from that, and I like that. But I also like the idea that
hit a point of diminishing returns, to be perfectly
there's something
honest
to
with you.
that.
Go ahead, though.
I also like the idea that if you want to experience Islamic culture, go to Turkey.
Yeah.
Go visit Riyadh. Go visit Baghdad. Go travel and see the world and have that experience. Do you want to live in Detroit and live in Baghdad? I want to live in Detroit. I don't want to live in Baghdad. I want to live in the United States, right? So when it becomes like you're living in another country, I think something's gone wrong.
Yeah.
It's not assimilation anymore. That's the word I was looking for. It's not assimilation anymore. It's domination.
Yeah.
It's a cultural revolution.
Mm-hmm. I can't remember. I retweeted it, but I just can't remember who said it, like where the original content came from, but said something to the effect of like, in 100 years, Baghdad is going to be Arab, Saudi Arabia is going to be Arab, China is going to be Chinese, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. London's not English, London at this point it's like a third world country, it's a fucking mess.
Yeah.
And I guess from what I understand, Minneapolis is getting like that too.
Yeah, that I've heard that, and that's really baffling to me, because I've been to Minneapolis before.
Fucking snow.
It doesn't seem like a place. It doesn't seem like a place I would want to live, just because of the weather. I'm sure it's beautiful in the summer and all that, but I wouldn't be my choice.
Long, brutal winters.
Yeah. If I had the choice of any place in the United States to live,
it ain't Minneapolis.
It's not. I don't think so.
Yeah. Prince. They got Prince going. Well, they used to have Prince going for them.
So I think that this anti-white racism is it's very, very dangerous. It's every bit as dangerous as anti-black racism was, in the early days of our country, and only it's worse, in my opinion. Now, I mean, I don't know if the media supported it like it does anti-white racism now. Maybe it did, but it seems like that message is pushed to the point where people are doing violence against white people as though they're fucking heroes, and that's incentivized. And at some point, white people are not going to take that anymore. At some point, we're going to become the villains that they try to paint us out to be. We're going to have to stand together to fight back against this, and it's not going to be good for anybody. And in the back of my mind, I wonder if the left wants that, if this is the entire intention. They want to create a hostile racial situation to keep people divided, like we talk about many times, but they want to do it until it becomes violent, until it becomes mobs and death and destruction and cultural revolution. Like, that's the end game. And then what they're going to do when that happens is stand back and say, didn't I tell you white people were white supremacists? Didn't I tell you they were terrible monsters? Didn't I tell you this was going to happen?
Yeah. I can't help but think of I've talked a lot on this podcast about how the narrative surrounding World War II, I am not sold on the standard narrative around World War II. And I think that a lot of it is propaganda to demonize the right, like post hoc. Again, I'm not saying that the people who are on the right side, the fascists, the Nazis, I'm not saying they didn't do anything wrong, but I'm saying that I don't think that they did anything particularly worse than a lot of wars throughout history. It just gets a lot of focus for some reason. And I think that narrative that you're talking about with, the white racism, it plays right into that, because it's like they're just trying to do Hitler again. They look at these white people. They're just trying to, they're trying to put all the other people in their place. And yeah, I don't know. I just think that it like walks hand in hand, those two.
It's so strange when I try to jump back and forth between historical, putting my vantage point in the 1930s, 40s, and then coming up to the present, because it's like so incongruent. The right back then were the fascists and the Nazis, like you just said. But what makes somebody a fascist is exactly what the left is doing in the modern day. What makes someone a fascist is controlling the media, controlling the narrative, controlling the government, and that's what we're seeing from the left. So it's so difficult for me to even make sense of that when the fascists and all the liberals today think fascist right. Bitch, you're the fascist now.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about that, because I think that if you think about that white pill book, were they fascists? I mean, they were fighting the fascists, and they were doing all that exact same stuff. So I don't know that it's like, I don't know that is, I think that's just kind of something that all like totalitarian, things are going to do, governmental systems are going to do.
So then maybe I should say you're the totalitarians.
Yeah.
And they are. Yeah. They are the totalitarians.
Fucking A.
And that brings me to Gad Sad again. He said some shit that was very depressing. I was mowing the lawn listening to Gad Sad. I got very sad listening to Gad Sad. Yeah. Sad. I don't know how you say it. But anyway, he said he was talking to somebody, and he said that there's these questionnaires that they've been giving to like students, I think mainly students, and they've been asking the same questions in these questionnaires since like the 60s. And so you can see how the kids' answers to these questions change over the generations. And he said that that reliably, young kids are becoming more socialist and more culturally socialist, and that's just ramping up and ramping up and ramping up in recent years. And he said he doesn't see any way out of this. He doesn't see that these people are going to change their minds because they're very ideologically driven. And see, young people are very ideologically driven, but the thing about lefties is that they don't ever grow out of it.
Mhm.
You know, it's like you and I at some point were very much more liberal than we are today. And we matured and realized where the faults are. But liberal minded people continue to think, because they're very smart people and they know better than you, they're convinced they're right and they never ever question it. So they never mature. You know, and I have family members like this. They do not mature. They never see a sophisticated view of the world because they've been right since they were 17.
Mhm.
You know, they've known everything
Got it
since
all
they were
figured out.
17. And so Gad said that these people aren't going to grow out of it. They're going to continue to become more and more of the majority. And then what the hope will be is that another generation will come up. Like, we have to wait them out. That another generation will come up that starts to think differently.
Yeah.
So over the next 30 years or more, we're going to be headed in a direction that reasonable people like you and I don't want to go. And we're not going to have a choice because we're not the majority. And that got me thinking about what it would take for the kids that are being born now or 10 years from now or whatever to grow to adulthood and start to think rationally about government and economics and freedom and all the you know, to be able to take our founding fathers seriously and respect, you know, the borders and what our country stands for, and you know, our great history and all this stuff. Like, what is it going to take for a generation to come up that believes that stuff again? Limited government, individual liberty, you know, all that stuff. What is it going to take?
Hardship.
That's one idea. If over the next 30, 40, 50 years, these stupid kids continue down this crazy line that we're on, where we're going to print money and give it away. We're going to change the demographics of the country. We're going to change the culture to be more compassionate. We're going to make sure that white people, whatever that even means, white people are a reasonable share of the population, and the systems are going to change. They're not racist anymore, and you know what we study and what we focus on, and you know the Green New Deal and all this shit. We're going to bring this stuff to fruition, and if it fails, in all or in part, and I think it will fail. I'm sure it will fail, given enough time. It's going to get bad. Financially, it's going to get bad.
Yep.
People's lives are going to be far worse. People's freedom will be diminished. They'll be living under, you know, an iron fist. And when that shit starts to come back on them maybe, or their kids or their grandkids are going to be like, we got to do something different, you know? So maybe it will take terrible, terrible hardship, you know?
Yeah. Might not even take that terrible hardship to be on, you know, just to be, I guess, maybe a little bit more optimistic. Might not take that hard of hardship, you know. Maybe if things just start to nosedive a little bit, people will be like, this is not working.
Yeah, that's optimistic, but that'd be great.
Yeah.
Here's the other thing that I think, and this is where I think I have some hope and some optimism. Kids love to be rebellious.
Oh, yeah.
And if the prevailing culture is this woke nonsense, if it becomes the prevailing culture where it's, you know, maybe it's there already, but once it's really ingrained and taken over and all of the last bastions of resistance have been snuffed out, and the new generation comes up and says, I don't want to be like my dad.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to be like my mom.
I think you're already getting some of that, to be honest with you.
That's great news.
Yeah.
In what way? Where are you seeing it?
The like increase in interest in things like Catholicism and Orthodoxy, things like that. There's a big, you know, like the trad push on like things like Twitter and stuff like that. There's people who, you know, are advocating for a more traditional lifestyle, things like that. You know, it's not a huge movement or anything, but I think you're already starting to see the beginning of that.
So you said trad, and
Traditional.
I know, and I have seen that, and pleb.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I see all these internet words, and I'm just like, what in the fuck does this mean?
Pleb is? Plebeian?
What does it mean, man?
It's like man, I'm drawing a blank right now, but it's like a class. It's like a social class from I think maybe it's France.
Oh,
No, it's probably, I think it's Rome. I think that it's
It's
the
Latin.
plebeians are like the lowest class.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
It's just, the internet lingo goes over my head, and I just wanted to point that out.
But that's like we would be plebs. The elites are the elites. We're the plebs.
Yeah, totally.
So
So it's funny that you bring up this resurgence in religiosity, because that's literally the first thing on my notes for today. This is what I wanted to get to. I do think that there's something. What I wrote was first. The last time it was cool or rebellious to be a Christian was 2,000 years ago, and it sort of feels like that is beginning to be the case again, because atheism, like the Richard Dawkins era type atheists, I feel like those people, maybe not those people, but the people that followed them, their readers and followers, wanted to be atheists to stick it to their parents, stick it to their culture, stick it to their grandparents. They wanted to be different and rebels. And now it's so thoroughly succeeded, everywhere you look, in the media and academia. You can't be taken seriously in academia if you have any religious bent whatsoever. It's like they're going to write you off like you believe in aliens and UFOs, and they put it's literally like that. So to say that you are a Christian now it makes you a rebel.
Punk rock, man.
It's punk rock. Absolutely. Yeah. Isn't that weird, man?
It's weird. It's pretty weird.
It's pretty weird. But it's kind of hopeful. Maybe the new generation that comes up will be a rebel like that.
It's definitely a better class of rebel.
Yeah. And I think the classical liberalism is got the potential to be in that vein too, that you're going to see kids coming up that call themselves lefties, but they're like old-fashioned English lefties. Yeah. They're like free speech and, individual liberty and private property rights and, those kind of liberals, Yeah. And I could just see like little pockets of those liberals invading the Democrat Party and getting bigger over the years. And,
it would be an improvement to what we have now. But I honestly think that like 50 to 100 years and we're just going to be back in the same place,
Yeah, maybe it's all cyclical like that.
I don't think it has to be. I just think that there's a lot of like classical liberal libertarian philosophy that I like. But then there's also like, if I had my little society that I was the boss of and I could make the rules, there would be a lot of stuff from there. There would be a lot of principles from libertarianism.
Yep.
But it wouldn't be the foundation of it because, you go like what I was into like 2 years ago, my like perfect ANCAP society. What do you do if you have a society, you got your little community and one guy is, like trafficking children out of his house. He's like raping kids. What do you do? It's his private property. What do you do? I mean, so, I think that some of classical liberalism's got to go. It's got to get the, got to go.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Get out of here. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, that like radical individualism has its limits. Mm-hmm. And tribal society, like where most human beings live for most of our evolutionary history, creates boundaries for that. It creates intimate social pressure to be a normal fucking person, And then today you've got this postmodern idea that to be a normal fucking person is wrong. In fact, it's so wrong that it's oppressive and violent to other people, to be a normal person,
For you to be a normal person is oppressive against other people.
Yes, because it forces your normality on them. It's hostile, It clenches down on your creative freedom. It's stifling. And that's what today's world believes.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Derrida. Thank you very much, Foucault.
I think that when creativity is like moving towards trans and kids and stuff like that. I think we can squash creativity. I'm okay with squashing creativity at that point in time.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
Trans and kids, because I want to tell you, I saw something on the internet that was very disturbing.
Yeah.
Let me set the stage like this. I don't know how many other people are going to have the same experience, but I'll just tell you what my experience was. Growing up, abortion was sort of a hot topic, and still is, I suppose.
Still is.
But when I was growing up, it was a unique hot topic because there wasn't trans people. There wasn't any of this going on. So abortion was sort of like that thing that conservatives and Christians were up in arms about, and liberals were their enemies. And I remember thinking to myself, all of those arguments that people would make were convincing to me. It's like, oh, you're going to get rid of this baby when it's just a cluster of cells. That's less sophisticated than a cockroach. So cleaning that out, what harm is this? You're going to preserve this person's future. You're going to give them control,
which is bullshit,
over their future. Right. That kind of stuff. And it was convincing to me.
Yeah.
And I thought abortion's not a good thing. And I certainly wouldn't want to kill a baby or a child. But if you do it early, it seems like it's probably in many cases acceptable. We want to draw the line, on that side. And then I saw a video of the process of an abortion, and they walk you through what's done, what the fetus looks like, what the aftermath is, and it puts it in an entirely different perspective. You're like, that is gruesome. That is terrible. That I can't, until I saw it, I didn't understand.
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't know if you had that experience or other people have, but it changed my mind about it. Not entirely, but it was like a slap in the face. It's like you have a lot of certainty that you shouldn't have. Like there's a reality here that you're missing. Okay, so I'm going to talk about this same thing in terms of the gender affirming care, sex change operations, to put it in layman's terms. I saw a video. It was a computer animated anatomical how-to sort of a video of what the gender affirming care surgery from man to woman looks like. Up until now, Kyle, I've heard about it as a concept, and I've said things like, if you're an adult and you decide you want to make this permanent decision and you're of the right mind, and you should have the freedom to do it and all that. But when they started talking about doing it to kids, I had a very big problem with it, like a lot of people. Then I saw it. Now, I don't know that my opinion's changed. I think if you're an adult and you want to do it, fine. But seeing it was the most gruesome thing. And I would recommend you look this up, audience. Look this up and watch it. This is like a cartoon, basically.
So you're not watching like a gory surgery.
It's not a gory surgery. No. But I can tell you.
Still maybe hard to watch.
It was hard to watch. I'll tell you, it's like they show you the penis. They show you the incisions that they make. So around the bottom of the head of the penis, and they pull back the skin and they tuck it down in. They pull the urethra out through this, it's like they're folding the skin and they're doing all this stuff and making all these cuts. And then they stitch up these certain areas. And when they start stitching it up, you can see the penis is gone. And now you start to see what looks sort of like a vagina being formed. And I'm like, what's going through my head is the amount of, first of all, it's clearly mutilation, and it's sophisticated mutilation. And it's like somebody had to figure out how to do this. Maybe it's done different ways. Maybe it evolved. They had to figure out better and better ways of turning a dick into a vagina, But if you hear people who've had this talk about it, they say things like they're in constant pain. They have to take antibiotics all the time because they're constantly getting infections. They get hair growing inside of their genitals, things like that. And then there was a picture of somebody's arm, and this was an actual picture of somebody's arm where they take the skin from your arm to form your phallus, and just the scarring of the arm and the disfiguring of the arm. And I just couldn't help but think, an artist. I'm like picturing somebody taking like Michelangelo taking a rock and not Michelangelo. What's the guy's name? Oh yeah, Michelangelo
Yeah.
carving David out of the rock. It's like you're taking this thing and you're making it into another shape. And this is what they've done. It's like somebody's taking this ball of Play-Doh and they're forming it around and trying to find the best way to make it resemble. And it's like a fake version, a hollow fake version. And it's like that uncanny valley with AI and robotics. It's like it looks like a vagina, but it's not a vagina, and you can't quite tell, but it's eerie. It's like it's off-putting, you know? And you're leaving somebody with this, and you're calling it gender affirming care, and you're leaving somebody mangled with this eerie false vagina, man. Like I don't I like
This eerie false vagina.
seeing it like that was so difficult, man. And if you're a parent who's considering doing that to your child, watch this fucking video and tell me you still think it's a good idea.
Yeah.
Like I just don't. I mean, it was gruesome, and there was no blood, dude. It was a computer animated video, and it was gruesome.
Good news about that is a lot of people don't do the bottom surgery. You know, a lot of people skip that. That makes me question their commitment to the whole trans thing. You know,
Yeah.
It's like if you were really serious about this, you'd go all the way. But you know, I tend to. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how much I should say on YouTube. I don't know how much, you know, if I'm going to get in trouble, but I don't believe in trans people. You know, I think that it's all mental illness and like people desperate for attention and things like that. And so that's why I think a lot of them don't get the bottom surgeries. They're men, even if they're pretending that they're women, tend to be partial to their penises. They like their penises, you know? And also, if you cut it off, you can't be one of those trans chicks who has an OnlyFans and like wax off, you know.
No.
That seriously limits your income potential, which I honestly think that that's what a lot of it is. These people who do this.
What happens to your dong if you're a trans
you would think
woman?
It like shrinks up.
Yeah, if you're taking the estrogen and the testosterone blockers, what happens to your dong? Does it still work?
I think so. So I know that there are trans people who do porn.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's got to be something going on there.
So I think that what you say about mental illness, I think there's a lot more truth to that than people are willing to admit to. I also think that there's a social contagion and a social pressure. Like people are always trying, especially when they're of the age where they're trying to peacock, when they're trying to get a mate. They're always trying to stand out. They're always trying to be different from other people. And some people do that by becoming captain of the football team. But you know what? There's only one captain of the football team. And so people break out into different hierarchies, and then they want to try to raise to the top of a hierarchy and try to get clout and try to get, try to get a mate that way. And it's perfectly natural. It's human nature. But this trans thing is a new hierarchy. And the people that gravitate towards it, like the ones that I know that are older, like the early adopters, you might say, they're D&D nerds. They're people with no friends. They're the bottom of the rung social class people that didn't have a hierarchy of any kind that they could climb in. So they made this up. And they didn't invent it, right? It's been around. There's been a very, very small minority of people that we used to call transsexuals or whatever that this idea came from, basically. But that this has been a social thing that people of low status have gravitated towards, and it's gotten completely out of hand, and nobody's talking about that. It's disrespectful and transphobic to even suggest that might be the case. And I wonder, if you weren't permitted to get gender affirming care until you were 28, how many of these people who, when they're 16, 14, 18, would consider it, how many of those kids would still at 28?
Probably not as many, I would assume.
I'm willing to bet very, very few of them.
Yeah. 28, a better age than we're doing it now, but like you said earlier, that you still think that people should be able to do it, if they're an adult. I don't. I don't. I don't think if you are a man and you want to go have your genitals mutilated, how is that any different from me going to the hospital and be like, this is not my arm. This arm belongs to someone else. Should the doctor cut that guy's fucking arm off?
So that's a good point. So I think I would say that that person should be allowed to want it, but should a doctor be allowed to do it?
Yeah, you can want your sex change all you want, but you're not going to get it. You can again, in Kyle's little community, maybe you do the thing where people fly to get like some getting you're not fucking doing it and if a doctor does it, that doctor's going to prison.
So let's dig into this, because I think that the do no harm thing is a problem. I think if you're a doctor and someone says, chop off my arm, it doesn't belong to me, you're clearly doing harm to that person. If someone says, chop off my genitals, you're clearly doing harm to that person. It's hard for me philosophically to get around that. If you're a doctor and you're supposed to do no harm, these things should be off the table. I'm agreeing with you there.
Mm-hmm.
But then I think about people like the early transhumanist type people that you've seen the guy that he had his whole face tattooed green to look like a lizard, and he had little things, subdermal implants put under his head to give him bumps,
mm-hmm.
and he had his tongue split, so he had like a serpentine tongue, and he was like this was his thing. It was, I don't know what it was, if it was a fetish, if it was a fantasy, but he totally changed his body. He looked like a lizard man. And if you ask me, do I think somebody should be allowed to transform themselves into a lizard man? I'm like, hey man, if they're an adult and they want to be a lizard, they can be a lizard. Fine, it's up to. But a doctor's got to do that. And
a doctor has to? He's like one of those dudes. He's got like some subdermal horn things.
Yeah.
And the splitting of the tongue, that kind of stuff. A doctor's going to have to do. And yeah, no, I don't know. I don't know that I think a doctor should be able to do that. I think that violates that Hippocratic oath.
What about this? Some of those early transhumanists were putting magnets in their fingers, little small magnets in their fingers. I don't know if they're magnets, what they were, but what they would let them do is sense like magnetic fields. So they had the actual vibratory sensations when they got around electronics or things that you and I couldn't feel, but they could feel. And for them, they thought they were on the cutting edge of getting a new sense of merging with technology and being able to sense things, superhuman things.
People are retarded.
Do you think that we have as a society, we have any interest in stopping people from experimenting in the next wave of, merging of technology and biology?
I think that there's a line in there somewhere. I don't know where it is. That's something that we would have to think about. But I do think that there is a line somewhere. Yeah. I think that at a certain point, you're messing with things that you shouldn't be messing with.
So bionic limbs, okay or not okay?
I lean towards okay. I mean, that's not hurting someone. What
if they have regular healthy limbs and they say, I want bionic limbs?
Yeah, no, I don't think that's okay.
What about some kind of genetic, CRISPR engineering that would allow somebody to live longer?
I'm not for it.
No,
I don't think that's good,
because you could argue that you're not doing harm exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, you may not know what the consequences are. You might be riddled with cancer and not be able to die. Can you imagine?
That would suck.
Oh my God.
That would suck.
But that's the kind of experimentation that's going to happen, I think. I don't know what form it's going to take, but they're going to have to test this stuff, and we're already messing with it,
Yep. I don't think we should. I think we should just leave it alone, to be honest with you.
Yeah. People don't like to die. They don't like to think about it.
Yeah. You mean that's why we are messing with it?
I think that's a big branch of it. Do you know that super rich dude? He spends like an astronomical amount of money. He's always exercising and taking supplements, but he does things like getting young people's blood transfused into him, and
I don't know who you're talking about, but
some eccentric billionaire, and he's He's older, but he looks good. He looks younger, but I wouldn't say good. He looks younger, but he looks like it's kind of like the uncanny valley thing. He looks younger, but there's certain features of him that you're like, you got an old man's eyes. You got an old man's eyes, but you look like a young man, kind of thing.
Yeah,
it's gonna be weird.
Which makes me think of Big Daddy, who's like old balls.
Yes.
Also makes me think of Bill Burr when he's talking about how his dick looks brand new, but the rest of him looks like an aged pirate. He's like, you got to increase the circumference of the lotion distribution. Fucking love Bill Burr. Well, yeah. Bill Burr used to be good. He's kind of a pussy now, but
really,
oh, dude, it's sad. It's sad.
He's gotten super liberal or what?
Yeah, he just like Bill Burr used to say things that were like edgy and like were actually like relevant. And now he's just it's bad.
I wonder what happened.
I've got my theories, but they might get us kicked on YouTube.
All right. But what about DeSantis? Ron DeSantis.
Oh, Ronnie D. Ron DeSanctimonious.
Ron DeSanctimonious. He's now told the public universities in Florida that they will no longer get state funding if they have staff for DEI.
I don't know what DEI is.
Diversity, equity, inclusion. Okay,
nice.
Yeah. So you're gonna
very
lose.
Based.
Yeah. I think that's a good thing.
Yeah.
And a lot of people will disagree with me, but what I want to ask you about is the top-down approach. So you got somebody like DeSantis saying, "I'm seeing this contagion creeping in. I see the dangers it poses. I'm going to, from the top down, say illegal. Rather than it being a grassroots thing, it's a top-down thing. How do you feel about that?"
I like it. Because if we don't do that, it's never going to change. That is 100% the truth. And if you don't realize that at this point, you're not paying attention. Because we can keep doing it the way that we've tried to been doing it, but we're losing, and we've been losing forever.
Yeah.
And it's never going to happen unless we do it from the top down.
Yeah.
That's why I support it at this point.
That's one of the things Gad Saad was saying when he was talking about the younger demographics being socialist. He was talking about how many professors in any given school, like in psychology and math and whatever, what the ratio is of conservative to liberal. And it's like in some cases it's 1 to over 200.
Yeah, I bet.
But in every case, it's like 5 to 1 at least.
Yeah. It's not good.
You go to college, you're being taught by progressive liberal people.
Yeah. So how do we win?
It's a great question.
You don't. You lose forever unless you start behaving the way that your enemy is behaving. And I fully support that at this point.
Yeah. Man, I think it's a good thing. I think that, like, one of the things that comes to my mind is that I personally, like, sometimes I'm tempted to say it's common or people, but what I mean is me, right? With me, I am afraid to say certain things. I'm afraid to share certain opinions. In a professional setting, even if it's even if it's with like friendly colleagues, there's some things that I am afraid to say, and what that means is beyond, like, I'm not talking about crude jokes. I'm talking about just just honest opinions about relevant things that I am afraid to speak about.
Yeah.
And I've found in many cases that other people feel similarly, and they're also afraid to say it. And that's why nobody ever knows what anybody thinks, because we're all tiptoeing around this and afraid to hurt somebody's feelings, or afraid to be, considered an asshole or racist or whatever.
For sure. I don't talk about the things that I think or believe at work. In my entire working career, I can only think of one person that I've had like philosophical, political conversations with at work. It's that dude Joe.
Yeah.
No, maybe a couple more, but not very in depth. So I definitely know what you mean. The other day, I can't remember if it was Friday or Thursday. But I was in one of the supervisor's offices just like hanging out. And there was one of the other people that I work with in there, and they were doing like the one guy who was not a supervisor was in there, and I guess he turned in some kind of paperwork and there was a misspelled word. So the supervisor was like busting his balls about it.
Yeah.
So they were doing this like spelling bee thing. The supervisor was like online looking for tricky words to spell. And then the guy that I work with, who's not a supervisor, was spelling it on the whiteboard. And one of the words was liaison. And I said, he spelled liaison. He got it right. I was like, I went to high school with a black dude named Liaison. And the guy was like, man, that's awesome. And I was like, I'm just joking, dude. And he was like, Jesus Christ. Like, like it was a bad joke or something.
Yeah.
That was like the most racial joke I've ever made at work.
Yeah, I get you.
It's a fucking funny one. I went to high school with a black dude named Liaison.
Yeah.
The next word was scoliosis. And I said, I went to high school with a black dude named scoliosis.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't make. Hold on, wait. Let me get the sound effects. You can't make jokes. You got to give me a little bit of a.
I went to high school with a black guy named Liaison.
All right,
there we go.
YouTube can't hear it, but all right. So it says something about freedom of speech being diminished. I mean, like I understand that there's some things at work you're not going to say when people who don't know you really know you and you don't know them, that you're not going to say. Just to be professional, to be courteous, to go along, to get along. But there's a lot more today that you're going to walk on eggshells about, especially when it comes to the trans thing, even pronouns. Can you imagine walking on eggshells trying to figure out how to address somebody? Like, it's complete nonsense, but we're doing that. So it says something about freedom of speech being diminished.
Yeah.
And there's more to that. What was I going to say? It separates people, it keeps people from knowing each other. It keeps people from being able to communicate with each other. It's got lots of nefarious sort of side effects. And I wonder if this top-down approach, like what we're seeing in Florida, is necessary for people to feel brave enough to get back to normal in the manner of speaking, to stop being afraid.
I'll tell you what, as far as the effectiveness of the top-down goes, I can tell you that there is not really a state in the country that I would have wanted to live in more than Florida over the last 3-4 years.
Correct. Yeah.
So I think as far as the effectiveness of it goes, I think that Ron DeSanctimonious is doing something right.
Yeah. There's another thing that occurs to me is that I grew up in a mostly white suburbs for most of my life. I would say mostly white. It was probably like 20% black, and there was just a couple of Hindu kids and one dude from Puerto Rico. It was a couple sprinkled in there, like a little bit of some diversity, but it was largely white.
We're talking about the neighborhood where you live close to Eddie.
Yes. Okay. Yes. And when I met somebody that was not from America, not from the United States, or that had some other background, like the Haydars, that had the one Muslim family we had at school, that they were American, and the kids that were just as American as me, but their parents weren't. Their parents were from wherever. And I remember like asking them questions, being curious. We had this dude named Aruna, who came from Africa. He was super tall. He came to play basketball.
Was he Maasai?
I don't know where he was from. He told me, but it's been such a long time, I don't remember. He was a nice dude. But I was so curious to talk to those people because it was interesting to me. It's like, you're from where? Your family does what? You eat what?
Yeah.
And I remember, I'll tell you, I may have told you this before, but I talked to Aruna one time, and I knew he was from Africa. And Africa's a big place. But when you're 14 years old, you don't know shit about Africa other than the Lion King. I was like, dude, were there monkeys? Were there lions? What was that like? And he thought I was making fun of him. And I remember he said, I'll make your nose drip. That's what he told me. Like he was threatening me. And that meant he was going to bloody my nose. But even him saying it like that was interesting to me. I'm like, you're going to make my nose drip? What does that mean? I just wanted to know. And I can't ask those questions. I couldn't ask those questions today without being racist.
Yeah. This one time, maybe a few weeks ago, I work with a bunch of Puerto Rican dudes, tons of fucking Puerto Rican dudes. And there's this one guy, I like him a lot. He's one of the fabricators, and we were just like kind of bullshitting towards the end of the day. And I was like, hey man, where are you from? He was like, what do you mean? It's like, I meant like, where do you live in this fucking area? Like, what neighborhood are you from? You know, I think he's like, are you like, you know, are you from Puerto Rico? Are you from Mexico? It's like, even if I did, like, who fucking cares, dude?
Right. Why?
Like, what is that? Why is that a problem?
Why is it a problem? It's a great question. Why is it a problem?
Who knows? I mean, he's a nice guy. I don't have anything against that guy, but I just think that like people get so sensitive about that shit, you know? And it's like, why is it mean or racist of me to be curious about you?
It's a great question. And
isn't that like a loving thing to do, to like want to know you?
Same thing with cultural appropriation. Yeah. I mean, that's what they say. It's like,
you know what? I had a thought about cultural appropriation. I was sitting someplace and they were playing a country music song and it had a distinctly like R&B vibe to it. And in my head, I'm just like, can we not have anything? Can we have nothing the block over it? Like, white people, we can't do anything anymore. White kids don't listen to rock music. They all listen to fucking rap now. And even country music is like becoming R&B. It's fucking annoying, man.
Well, it goes back to what I said about math.
Yeah.
Music is a multicultural, multi-generational thing. It's like black people would be the first to tell you rock and roll started with black people. They'd be the first to tell you that. White people stole it. Like they stole everything. Maybe we do owe them reparations, man.
Maybe. They're not getting any from me.
I remember hearing somebody say, it was one of those like DEI, or no, it wasn't DEI. It was one of those anti-racism bias, unconscious bias training people. And they were saying that if you are introduced to somebody and you ask them, like they have a foreign sounding name, and you ask them, like,
where are you from?
Where does that come from? That you're being racist. You know,
you're just supposed to assume that they're from here.
Aruna was not from here, man.
Yeah, he'll make your nose drip.
He will. That dude was so tall, man. They used to be this divider that separated the lunch line. There was like a lunch line where you could go and get wraps, which were dope. The wraps at my high school, I would go to lunch there right now and get wraps if I could. They were so good. And then the other one was like the hot food. And I remember one day it was tall enough that most people, you couldn't see over it. Aruna's like bleeding over it, like talking to me, man. That dude was tall.
Yeah.
He was easily like 7'6".
Damn.
It's a big dude.
It's crazy.
And no monkeys and lions where he was from. No monkeys anyway. In case you were wondering.
I'm skeptical of that.
There might have been some monkeys.
To be perfectly honest with you, there's monkeys everywhere over there.
Dude, well, I was talking about Gad Sad earlier. He makes this joke about being a honey badger. So if you know anything about badgers, apparently
very aggressive,
right? So you got to be a honey badger. And I've heard that they're aggressive, but I saw a video of a honey badger in Africa fighting with 3, I don't know if they were tigers or leopards or they were big cats, dude. And the badger was like the size of a small dog.
Yeah.
And it was getting fucked up by these lions.
But it
just kept going after them until the lions were just like, fuck this, man.
Yeah.
It was gnarly.
Yeah.
So if you have a minute, guys, look up honey badgers.
That's like, it's like one of those animals that you like really don't want to come across in the wild, you know?
And if you just saw one from a distance, you wouldn't think.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
You'd be like, oh, it's a big ass gerbil or something. You know, it's not harmful. It's not going to hurt me. And then it fucking kills you.
Yeah, man.
It's a scary little beast.
Scary little beast.
What were we talking about before the honey badger came up?
I was talking about Gad Sad.
Yeah.
Another thing Gad Sad said. He
says a lot.
He says some funny shit.
Yeah.
He says that people, he's mainly talking about people in academia, but he calls them, what does he call them? He calls them castrati, but he calls them something else. Castratos have no balls. What's the other one? Oh, invertebrate castratis. That's what he calls them. Because these people have no spines and no balls.
And no balls.
Yeah. And he said if you see him, he walks around like he's 7 feet tall. And he has this way about him. He says, because you have to, present yourself as, powerful and strong and confident, and that we need more of that in the world. And if you have beliefs that you need to wear them openly and you need to represent them and be confident about them. And he said, the world is full of pussies. He didn't say this, but basically the world is full of pussies and nobody is, everybody's wanting to go along to get along. And he's like, we're social creatures. So it makes sense that we want to be that way, but we need more people that are not invertebrate castratis. And I think that's very true, man. It's kind of inspiring. It makes me want to
not be
invertebrate
castrati.
Not be an invertebrate castrati. Yeah.
Yeah.
Gonna start using that one?
No, it's too much. Invertebrate castrati.
Yeah.
It's too much. I prefer spineless, sackless motherfucker,
It doesn't quite have the same ring, but yeah. Yep.
I think it's got a better ring. It's like more aggressive,
like a honey badger.
Exactly.
We're going to call this episode the honey badger.
Sure.
Okay. All right.
It's fine with me.
We're about at 2 hours. You got anything else? No, wait, we're at an hour and a half.
Hour and a half.
Oh shit.
It's a short one this week.
Well, I'm running out of things. Let me see if I have anything else. I do have one more. Go ahead.
You go ahead.
Saw an article. Sometimes I look at these articles because I like to see the racism and sexism that comes out in the news as if it's not racist and sexist. So like, for instance, if you're saying something nasty about white people, it's presented as heroic. If you say something, about, something with a feminist sort of bent to it, it can be as anti-man as you want. And it's like, the headline, the story reads like you should, agree with them, where it's very hypocritical. If it was the other way around, you would never be able to do this. I saw one of these articles and it said that the first manned mission to Mars, they're going to be an all-woman crew. So
they're not gonna make it. They're not making it.
I wanted to hear how you would respond, but they give reasons for this.
Yeah,
and I wonder.
This shuttle is powered by period blood. Is that one of the reasons?
They're going to attract space bears that way.
They can smell the menstruation.
So they said the reason that they suggested an all-woman manned moon mission, Mars mission. Well, I think that's probably a feminist move, but they're saying it's because women's bodies strain the ship's resources less. That they would save $158 million on food, storage, oxygen, and water simply by not having any men on the ship. So that's how they justified it.
Yeah.
What if something needs fixing, though?
That's a good question. That's a really good question.
What if something needs fixing, I wonder?
Yeah. I saw some article I retweeted, something about, I think it was Korea, that women are like, there's this thing in America called MGTOW, men going their own way, where men basically just like stop being interested in women and just like concentrate on themselves, which I think there's some good in that, but up to a certain point, once you make yourself a good like mate, then it's time to like get in there.
Correct.
But in Korea, South Korea, they're having some kind of like women going their own way. They're like not doing, and it's like, yeah, they're going their own way. And this is what I said, unless they need a pickle jar opened or something. And then, then give me that good old fashioned patriarchy.
Yeah.
It's fucking so stupid. And that's definitely what it is. It's not about the 150 million or whatever. It's about sending a team of women to Mars.
Exactly.
That's what it's about.
They want that story in the history books.
Yeah.
It's not about saving $158 million.
Yeah.
100%. I agree with you.
I am all for sending a ship of women to Mars. I'm all for that, dude. Blast those bitches off and they ain't never coming back. It's fine with me.
See, this is another example of that, like, rabid individualism. If you take it to if you take that libertarian approach to its maximum, then you get that MGTOW stuff that you were just talking about, where it's like, I don't need a family. I don't need a community. I'm just going to be man versus wild. Like I'm going to be woman versus wild or whatever. And the truth is, like Gad said, we're social creatures. We need each other, you know, and our differences are in some ways to be celebrated because it gives us something we don't have, you know. And it's a double-edged sword because I think that is true with culture too. I think there are things from other cultures that are giving us something we don't have. But I think it's a mistake to trade one for another, or to buy one wholesale and think you can incorporate it into to an existing system, and without any problems. You know,
Mhm.
how do you benefit from the differences of others? You know, that's what being social creatures is all about. Teamwork. Hashtag teamwork.
That was a nice hashtag. Yeah. I don't know what to say about that. I am firmly on the side of blasting women off to Mars, though. I think that's a great idea. Round up all the most annoying women on Earth and blast them off to Mars. All the like short haircuts, purple hair, lots of piercings.
There you go.
Straight to fucking Mars, dude. That's a great idea.
Just a group of South Korean
They can find a way to reproduce up there by themselves, hopefully.
Asexually, yeah.
Just send up a bunch of like pre-loosened pickle jars with them so that they can eat. You know,
There's just gonna be mayonnaise all over the inside of the ship.
Yep.
From your half open
period blood-powered ship.
Yep.
I saw this video online that I thought was pretty interesting. This guy, I forget his name, but he used to be the president of the APA, the American Psychiatric Association. And he was talking about how when he was the president, he made, he like started a motion or whatever the fuck to have homosexuality taken off of like a list of mental conditions.
Mm-hmm.
And that everyone on the board agreed to start that process. But then a group of feminist and homosexual advocates, or whatever you would want to say, basically prevented any kind of unbiased research into homosexuality and prevented that from happening.
Really?
Yeah.
It's not listed as a mental disorder now.
I think it's on the DSM-5 still. Yeah.
Really.
Yeah. Pretty interesting.
Yeah. What was the rationale? Did they suggest why they would want to prevent it?
I think that it has to do with if you understand the true nature of it, then the narrative falls apart. You know what I mean? They need you to believe that you're born that way. And if something comes out contrary to that, then the whole narrative falls apart. And not only the homosexuality narrative, the trans narrative, people are trying to make that argument for pedophiles at this point.
I've seen that.
So
and that, like, it never ceases to amaze me what we take seriously. It's like, I never thought this trans thing would ever become a national conversation. I never thought it would be taken seriously. It seems
retarded.
I didn't say it. But this whole pedophilia thing, like, I wonder, because it's like you're seeing these common liberal tactics, like softening the language and coming up with their own
minor attracted people.
Yeah. It's like that's exactly what liberals do. They soften the language. They try to soften. They create this narrative. They make them out to be like sympathetic. They try to make them out to be sympathetic, and that you're starting to see that. And I wonder, like, is that just part of the culture war? It's like a story that gets planted and gets pushed through so that we argue with each other about it. Is it just one of those things? It's not real. It's just being done for the sake of argument, or is it honestly like 4D chess? Is it honestly something that they want, that the left wants to normalize?
I think it's something that they want to normalize, yeah. I think that the reasons for why they want to normalize it, there are some people who are playing 4D chess who are like, we need to break down these barriers so that we can do the societal things that we want to do. We can't have these barriers, these natural barriers. We need to erase all of those to be able to do what we want. Those are the people playing 4D chess. Now, the other people, I think they still want to normalize that stuff, but they want to do it because they think that it's like nice. You know, they think that it's like, you know, it's more humane. It's more like it, by being accepting to the pedophiles, we make it more likely that they're going to get help and shit like that. And I think that some of them think that, but I honestly think that I really do think that there are some liberal people. Okay, so I think that there are probably some conservative people. I might be one of them who have opinions that would like blow your fucking hair back if we were like perfectly honest with you. And I think that there are liberal people like that too who think that adults should be able to fuck kids. I really think that. I think that that's one of those liberal positions blow your back if they were honest with you. I think that children have the ability to consent, and that if a child can consent, there's no problem with an adult having sex with a child.
Yeah, I think that there is some evidence for that in the postmodern readings that I did, whatever it was, like in season 1 when we were talking about that. I think there's some evidence for that in these postmodernists like Foucault and Derrida.
Mm-hmm. Creepy.
It is creepy.
Creepy fucks.
So my best hope here is that, like the trans conversation, when it starts encroaching on children, enough people will push back. Yeah, I mean that's my. I'm gonna try to remain optimistic about that because I have to.
Yep.
Now I'm depressed, Kyle.
Don't be depressed. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what else to say. It's fucked up.
Fucked up. I got nothing, man.
I do think, I'll tell you, I don't know how controversial this would be, but I was going to say this is one of my positions that might like blow someone's hair back.
Okay.
I think that if you get caught doing anything with kids, I'm like kind of anti-death penalty at this point, but I'm not opposed to like really brutal punishments. So I'm talking, I mean, like castration, you know, I'm fine with that kind of stuff. I think that if you get caught molesting a kid, we castrate you.
Yeah.
And castrate you in a way that like ruins you, you know, like ruins your hormones, you know, like, because you don't have to have a dick to molest someone, you know. So I'm saying we like ruin your hormone situation to where you can't even feel aroused anymore. I don't know how to do that.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that somebody does. And I say that's what we do to those people.
Yeah.
You're fucked.
Yeah. I think that I can't think of a worse crime. I can't think of a worse sin.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't think of something worthy of worse punishment. Even murder doesn't seem as bad as pedophilia.
Yeah.
Honestly.
You're
ruining somebody's life.
Like you're defiling the picture of innocence too. You know, you have this human being who is like pure innocence and potential, and you're just like stomping on that, you know,
for entirely selfish reasons.
Mm-hmm. The grossest, most base sexual, you know, personal reasons you're doing that.
I think that what I just hit on there, the selfishness, I think that is at the root of all of our cultural problems. It's at the root of every crime and every sin. People who are incapable of thinking about themselves, or even get caught up in a moment where they're swept away in their own shit so deeply that they cannot consider others. Mm-hmm. You know, mm-hmm. Every time somebody steals, rapes, you know, is violent towards somebody else, you're doing it for your own selfish reasons, you know. And people who don't have children sometimes have a harder time coming outside of themselves to that level. Mm-hmm. Some people who do have children still can't, which is strange.
Yeah. I don't know, man.
I think these, oh man, I just feel like a curmudgeon because I want to like rant about like this dude down the street. He's a nice dude. I like him a lot. And he has a son who's like 10 years younger than me. So he's a grown man, but he's still a young man.
Yeah.
And he just does nothing but play video games. He doesn't work. He doesn't help out. He's just concerned about doing the things he likes. And we have an enormous chunk of people, greater every year, that are like that.
Yep.
And it doesn't reflect well on the future, man.
Nope.
And it has to do with selfishness. And I don't know, has it always been that way? Or is this a cultural trend? Does it have to do with parenting? I don't know, man. I don't know.
One thing that I like that a lot of people in, the Orthodox sphere that I've, kind of been in over the last few months, one way they talk about that is that it's like the worship of self. You know what I mean?
100%.
And it really, you have the Anton LaVey version of Satanism that's do what thou wilt. It's all about like, it's libertarianism, basically,
That's funny.
It's like extreme libertarianism,
religious libertarianism.
Yeah. But there's this, like, there are a lot of people who I would say there are like political libertarians who are basically LaVeyan Satanists who, like, you're like, oh, well, I don't believe in Satan. I just believe in worshiping myself. It's like, that's the same fucking thing, dude. Like, it's the, whether you believe that you're worshiping Satan or not, you're behaving as somebody who believes and worships Satan. So yeah, I think we got to get rid of that too.
So this is sort of related. It might not be clear when I tell you, but it's related. So I've been reading this book, Beyond Theology, this Alan Watts book. I'm going to be doing, we talked about it last time. I'm going to be doing an episode that's based on this, but it's not like a normal episode. It's not like, here's something really cool he said, here's what I think about it. He said something in this book about thinking about what, he said that you can learn a tremendous amount by thinking about what you desire. And then asking yourself if that's what you really desire. So first ask yourself what you want. And once you figure it out, then ask yourself, is that what you really want? So I started this exercise, and it's kind of like, it's related to some of this Jordan Peterson stuff where he has those writing programs, future authoring and stuff, where you sit down and you actually think about things and ask yourself questions and think it through and write it down. And you really makes you think it through about shit that you normally just think, but you have never really even tried to, understand really.
You think
but you
have no idea.
So
it's true life.
So I started doing that.
The story of, what are we talking about?
Desire.
Oh, desire. There we go.
So I started doing that. I wrote down basically 3 things. It's like, what do I most desire? So I wrote down, finally got down 3 things.
Sex.
Yeah. Well, then I wrote down the thing, and then I just said, why? And I wrote down some more, and I said, why? I wrote down some more. And next thing I know, I have pages and pages. And when I get to the end of it, what I started with, this is what I desire. And what I ended with could not have been more different. And it had a lot to do with selfishness and the importance of other people and stuff like that. So I'm going to do an episode on it and just kind of read through that and talk about it. And, I'm being a little bit vulnerable because it's like super personal, but I'll be curious to see if you listen to it, what you think. And it'd be interesting to see if you did that exercise, what you would come up with. But it's interesting, man. So I would suggest anybody listening, give that a shot. So what I first said, and I'll just give you a little hint here. What I first said about what I desire was that I want to take care of my responsibilities, and that's, first of all, it's a very conservative desire to have. It's like liberal people, that's not going to be high up on the list of desires, to take care of your responsibilities. But I have kids and I have a wife. And so it's important to me that I take care of them.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, so I started with that. And then 2.5 pages later, it's like deeply philosophical and completely off the mark. So anyway, that's coming. That'll be in a future episode. Maybe I missed last week's Wednesday episode, and I haven't missed a Wednesday episode in a very long time. So hopefully this one will be out.
Getting busy?
Yeah, getting busy. In fact, this Wednesday, I'm going to be on the road for 8 hours, so I may not be able to record it on Wednesday. So it might be late, but it's coming, you guys. Don't worry, it's coming.
Just cool your jets. It's coming. We're almost running out of time.
All right. Well, you got anything else?
I know tomorrow I'm supposed to go into work tomorrow with a list of my 10 top favorite movies.
Oh,
And I haven't done that.
well, 10 is a reasonable number.
10 is a reasonable number.
But like, I don't know if the movies that probably we would share a couple of in our top 10.
Sure.
But I bet you would be very different, you and I.
For me, a movie that I know you like, I don't know if it'd be on your top 10, but I know you like it. Drawing a blank on the name of it. Oh, Brother, Where Art Thou?
Yeah.
That would be on there for me.
I think if I had 10, it probably would be on the list. Oh, Brother, Where Art Thou?
See, if I only had 3, it would probably still be on the list.
The Prestige I really liked.
Ooh, The Prestige was really good. It's another Nolan movie. I was probably going to put Memento on there.
Yeah. If I had to put one Christopher Nolan movie on there, it would be The Prestige.
Prestige is really good.
Some people really like that. I want that later one that he did with McConaughey in space. Interstellar.
I only saw it in theaters, so I don't really.
Inception too. Is that Nolan?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Inception was great.
Yeah.
It might be in my top 10.
Yeah.
It's a good one.
Yeah. A movie I also really liked was Stranger Than Fiction.
Ooh, Stranger Than Fiction was really good.
Yeah.
That's a good one. That might be on there.
Fucking good. It's fucking good, you guys. If you haven't seen Stranger Than Fiction, it's Will Ferrell, but it's not a typical Will Ferrell movie.
Lebowski would be on there for me too. I think there might be 3 Coen Brothers movies in my top 10. Burn After Reading, The Big Lebowski, and Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
Yeah, boy.
All right, that's good. That gets me a start, and you gave me some other ones that I might consider putting in there too. So
good. I'm trying to think if there's any that stand out before we wrap this bitch up.
I can tell you what, there probably will not be a single Marvel movie in there.
My favorite Marvel movie was it called X-Men First Class?
Yeah,
with Kevin Bacon and
McAvoy.
That shit was good, man.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
That would be it probably. The one that I'm not sure I'd put that on the top 10.
It wouldn't be in my top 10, but it's as far as it was a pretty good one.
Yeah,
there's some. I'm not like one of those people who's like, if you watch Marvel movies, you're retarded.
Yep.
But I just don't really like them that much.
It's hard for me to put these on a top 10 list, but I have to say that Sherlock Holmes movie with Robert Downey Jr., I really, really, really enjoyed it, man. It was a fun movie. And the way it was shot, the camera, it was like so dark and like, I loved it.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
And Harry Potter. There's fucking 8 of those movies.
The movies weren't that good, dude.
Yeah, you're right.
The movies fucking suck.
You're right.
You're like transposing your love for the books onto the movies.
Yeah, might be. To that end, Interview with the Vampire. I know it's an older one, but that's a fucking hell of a movie.
It is a good movie.
All right. And that's going to have to be enough.
Peace out, fuckers.
Peace.
Well, there you have it. That's one avenue explored, but infinitely more still to go. I hope you enjoyed thinking along with us.
Stop recording.
I know. It's not easy work. Thinking.
Oh, shit.
It's hard and full of uncertainties, but I'm grateful for the company as we trek through this together. Here's to hoping that the juice is worth the squeeze. See what I did there? Let's find out together in the next episode.